This is Project Management for You.
Hi everybody, this is Danilo Tambone from Milan, Italy. I'm a PMP, PMI ACP, and Scrum Fundamentals certified. You can connect with me via LinkedIn or Twitter at Dan Tambone, DANTAMBONE. I'm a proud supporter and backer of Cesar Abeid's Project Management for You Kickstarter campaign. And now, enjoy the show!
Are you a solopreneur, individual, or small business owner who struggles with ideas and lacks converting those ideas into reality?
Do you underpromise, afraid you won't deliver?
Learn the least you need to know to start your path of turning ideas into reality and delivering on your promises.
Each episode is designed to help you get things done.
Welcome to Project Management for You with Cesar Abeid.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 8th episode of the Project Management for You podcast series. I am Cesar Abeid, your host, and it is great to have you here. On this show, I bring you my conversations with some of the best project managers I know as we try to break down and explain it to you so you too can start turning your ideas into reality, delivering on your promises, and getting things done by using project management principles and ideas. Now, as you know by now, I am also writing a book of the same title, Project Management for You, that is, and I'm running a Kickstarter campaign to help me with getting the word out and also with the cost of self-publishing. And I just wanted to give you a quick update here that I am now at 53% funded. It is, today is Tuesday, Wednesday, October 8th. So it's been 7-8 days since I started the campaign, and I'm already at 53% funded. So thank you very much if you are one of the backers for helping me make it this far. And if you'd like to learn more about the campaign and how you can also be a part of this community, just go to projectmanagementforyou.com and you'll be able to see everything there. It's all explained there. All right, so let's talk about today's show. Today, I bring you my friend and the lazy project manager, Peter Taylor, and we will break down project management and explain it to you. Peter Taylor is the author of 2 best-selling books on productive laziness, The Lazy Winner and The Lazy Project Manager. In the last 3 years, he has focused on writing and lecturing with over 200 presentations around the world in over 20 countries, and with new books out including The Lazy Project Manager and The Project from Hell, Strategies for Project Sponsorship, Leading Successful PMOs, and The 36 Stratagems, a modern interpretation of a strategy classic, with a number of other books and projects currently underway. His mission is to teach as many people as possible that it is achievable to work smarter and not harder, and to still gain success in the battle of work-life balance. And Peter's on the line with me today from his comfy chair in London, England.
Today's special guest and project manager extraordinaire is up next.
Good morning, Peter. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks very much.
Peter, you are a famous project manager, and you've worked with a lot of companies and professionals, helping the way they manage projects. Let's put it that way. Very simplified version of what you do. But maybe for our audience here, you can explain project management. So how would you define project management to the layperson?
That's a great question. It's a while ago I pondered this. Because there's this challenge for people to explain project management to anybody really. That you either have a very, very short definition or you have an incredibly long definition, and sometimes the definition is heading towards almost a recital of the PMBOK or something like that, and that's kind of important, but it's pretty boring to a layperson to go to that level of detail. I ran an article a while back which was Explain Project Management to an Alien. And I had some fantastic responses, and people can still go and find that article out there on the web if they want to. And I set that very challenge. How do you explain project management to someone who doesn't necessarily know about project management, that isn't, tedious, boring, too detailed, etc., and puts people off? And I challenge people to have their elevator pitch ready in the world of project management to talk to people. And I try and talk to as many people as possible about project management. And I guess it was fascinating, the kind of responses I got. And my favorite one was a lady responded with doing something that makes a real difference with a bunch of people. And keeps me and everybody else interested. It was along those sort of lines. And I think it is. I mean, project management is overseeing the delivery of a change, and that change should be for the greater benefit of the organisation, the people involved, whatever it may be. So, project management is just kind of like a cradling, a sort of shepherding of that activity, that change, and nobody likes change particularly. So therefore, there's a lot of skills that a project manager needs to overcome challenges, issues, and resistance. Maybe that wasn't a particularly short definition, but it is one of the challenges I find is I joke about people that if you ask people two questions, or project managers two questions, what are you? I'm a project manager, and what do you do? I manage projects is probably the next question, the next answer to that. And really, that doesn't tell anybody anything, does it? I'm a project manager and I manage projects. That's not good at all. So you've got to develop something. And I think that kind of overseeing, shepherding, guiding change to make a positive difference is about as close as I can get to a short definition. How's that?
That sounds great. Sounds great. And I run into the same problem as well. When people ask me, okay, well, what does a project manager do? And but that's a good definition. And so let's say somebody's listening right now and they're not a project manager. They might not even work for a large company. They might just have a small business, for example. For what is the least people need to know about project management to start on this path of directing change or getting things done, either alone or with a group of people?
Yeah, and again, another sort of recent conversation I had lends itself to this because, I'm pretty old now, and I'm from the generation of the accidental project manager age, and I was meeting up with a kind of a peer, and we were having a beer or two a while back, and we talked about how on earth it was that we were as reasonably successful as we were successful enough to survive in project management without, it was many years for both of us before we were called a project manager or before we were trained in project management in any way. And somehow we managed to be project managers to a reasonable level. I mean, of course, we weren't perfect by any means. And we decided that actually it was all about the fact that because we didn't know anything about process at that point in time, we naturally fell back on the people side of things. Everything you hear about the soft skills that makes, I think makes the best project managers. You've got to, there's nothing these days. It's important to have and understand the process and structure and be organized, of course. But it's also really important to understand the people side of things as well. Mm. So I think the least people need to know about project management is, whilst it doesn't say it in the title, the title says project and the title says management. If you extrapolate the management side of things, it is actually the management of the people that is most important. So I think that's the most important thing, I would say.
Okay. All right. That's cool. So I always say that project management is it could be defined. No, that's okay. It could be defined as techniques or a way of bringing an idea to reality. So, in your opinion, what are the stages of bringing an idea to reality?
Yeah, and this is an interesting question actually, because these days what I do is I write books, I create webinars and training courses and things like that. So, whilst I've always been in project management, I'm really close, if you like, to this process of idea to reality. I have a conceptual idea for a book or something, and obviously I have to go through a process of bringing it to reality. So, I think the stages that I see, there is a conceptualizing stage. There's you have to shape the idea in some way in your own mind, and then the next thing is some sort of validation. So it may be you personally, or maybe a small group of people. You kind of have to look at this idea and just test it. Test this idea as is this something really can be brought to a point of fruition, to reality. Once you've done that, I think you then have to kind of develop the idea, obviously, and to develop the idea is, if you like, we're very much into the world of the projects and project management now, because it's this is overseeing a stage of taking something from nothing to a point of change or to a point of existence or something like that. But it's also important that as you develop that, you go through a kind of an iterative process of proving this. I mean, the previous question was about what's the least people need to know about project management to get started. I mean, apart from the people side of things, is the fact that, you need to constantly circle around and make sure that things are on track, are in line, are progressing the way you expect them to do that. And then, if you like, the final stage of the idea to reality process is some kind of delivery, but it doesn't end there either. And it's kind of like having delivered, you kind of need to then move on into kind of the testing of making sure this thing works. I mean, again, if I talk about a book has an idea, and then the idea is created, and we go through that process of making sure I validate with a publisher, and I'll validate with some potential future readers. I will develop it. I will test it throughout that process. I will deliver the book. Someone else, obviously the publishers will also get involved in that proving that and that final delivery. But even when it's out there in the marketplace, the Lazy Project Manager, for example, is not identical to the Lazy Project Manager that was published 5 years ago. We've tested. We found some errors. We found some errors, improvements, and we've changed things. So I think, succinctly conceptualize, validate, develop, prove, deliver, and then test, I would say, are the kind of stages that I would talk about.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And sometimes it's shorter versions of that over and over again.
It is, yes. Yeah. I mean, then the more you can get in that kind of iterative approach, then the better it can be. And the whole point about that approach is that if you think about, if you have a directional line of start to finish and you go off at a slight tangent, a slight angle, if you leave it over a period of time before you try and correct things, and you can quickly head off in a very different direction completely to where you wanted to end up. If you're constantly correcting, it's a bit like when you're driving, you got the steering wheel of your car. I mean, you don't stop steering for a while and then about 5 minutes later look at where you're going and adjust, do you? It's constant small adjustments all the time that keep you on track, that get you there safely. Very nice. Now,
there are you mentioned the PMBOK. For those who don't know, that's the Project Management Body of Knowledge. is a basically a reference book for project managers and project management, and that book is full of tools and techniques and I guess tools and techniques. So if you could recommend one technique from the project management world to the masses, to everyone, what would it be, and where can we learn it?
Well, my personal favorite, and the one I really enjoy doing, are retrospectives. This is a process at the very end of a project, and the project is finished. And the world of the PMBOK, the body of knowledge, and of course there are other body of knowledges as well, and associations out there we have to recognize. But when all of that is done, there is still a wonderful opportunity to learn and improve yourself as a project manager, your team, as contributors towards this project, and to the wider community as well. And as part of that retrospective, there is an exercise which is called the emotional seismograph. Now, the emotional seismograph is a wonderful exercise that you can do to assess how people felt throughout the life cycle of the project. And the beauty of this is it's a very collective activity. It involves everybody, but you can really drive out some real important learning points and uncover some challenges, some issues, etc., that you can look at and learn from and try and improve for next time around, for the very next project. Where can you learn more about it? Well, the retrospective approach that I take is based on a book by Norman Kerth. That's Kerth, Norman Kerth. And you can also, on the emotional seismograph, you can learn more about that in the Lazy Project Manager, and I think it's on my website as well. If it isn't, I'll make sure that article is back up there on the website. But just that process of doing a kind of retrospective look back at the project at the end of the project is really valuable. And much as we said on the previous question and discussion, you don't have to wait to the end of the project either. You can do these iteratively throughout, and they have value in doing that as well.
Very nice. And the listener can I will add a link to those resources on the website as well, so they can go to the website, and I'll have the links there. That's very nice. Thank you. All right, so we talked about working with teams and working with people, and managing projects often, if not 99.99% of the time, means working with other people. So, in your opinion, what's the best way to know when and what to delegate, for example, and to compel people to collaborate on bringing an idea to reality or on a project?
So let's split that into the two parts, really. I think the first part is, when and what to delegate. As a project manager, I think it's important to delegate as much as you possibly can, because it is down to the project team at the end of the day. You can't be a remote project manager and you can't not do anything, and there's great advantages of getting involved. But one of the challenges I see project managers face on a regular basis is they get too involved. In fact, they're working at 100% capacity throughout the project, and if your listeners have read The Lazy Project Manager, you know what I'm talking about. If not, you can go to the website and find out more. But I talk about the fact that projects are thick at the front end, thin in the middle, and thick again at the far end from a lazy project manager's point of view. And my point about that is that in the middle of the project, when really all the real work is going on, all the creative work, all the development work, or whatever is going on, then the project manager needs to be available to proactively go around and engage and talk to people, etc., and not be completely burdened with activities themselves. Because when there are challenges, if you're already working, as I said, at 100% capacity, when there's a problem on the project, what do you do as a project manager? I mean, if you can't, if you go and deal with the problem, you're going to stop doing something else that's cause a problem. So, I always argue that project managers need to lead themselves that kind of flexibility to spend some of their time being proactive, going around, talking to people, asking questions, making sure things are okay, or being rapidly reactive as well. So that's kind of the first one. And I mean, how do you compel people to collaborate on a project? It is tough. I mean, there are many techniques of getting people on board, but let's pick on one. And I think the most important one is to get people to understand what the project's about. I mean, if you can articulate the value to people, and people see that and see the benefit that's going to be brought about by the change that this project is overseeing, is managing, then they are more likely to voluntarily collaborate with enthusiasm than they are if they are compelled or forced to. Sometimes, and we live in a world that isn't perfect, of course. Sometimes you do have to push people or challenge them to work and contribute. It's not ideal, but sometimes you have to do that. But if you can elevate their thought to what this project is all about and how they are contributing towards this change that's going to be something that is better for the organization, for their community or whatever, then that really does help people get on board. And anybody who's working winningly are going to work more effectively, of course.
Yes, I always like to make the comparison that it's like working with volunteers, and in a way they are volunteers. They could be working somewhere else, even though they're getting paid. They're there because they want to. Correct?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Very good. Okay. Well, so let's say, just to wrap things up, what is your final thought for the listener who wants to learn and use project management to get whatever project they have in mind done?
Yeah, the first thing I'd say is that, and I see this more and more, that you don't have to want to be a project manager to learn about project management. I mean, the reality of business these days is, I always talk in, 3 layers of activity inside an organization. Is that there is business as usual, whatever the business is about. There are projects that are out and out projects, and there's kind of a midstream, which is projects as usual, is the phrase I use, which is a whole bunch of stuff that's going on inside an organization that might not be too complicated, might not last too long, but still requires some of the skills and capabilities of project management. So and I think anybody and everybody should have some sort of insight into the basics of project management. And I see that more these days. You know, I go into schools and I go into colleges and universities, and I talk to people, and I can see that they are learning the ways of projects and project management without necessarily describing them in that way, but it's the structure of the work that they do, which is great because they're going to enter business that much better prepared. I think people should also embrace what's out there. I mean, you know, in the world of project management, it's a fantastic world, a virtual world these days, because, you know, when I started out, I'll go back to my accidental project management days, I had no one to talk to really to get some advice or get some insights. I mean, these days there's an explosion of wonderful material out there. There's the podcasts such as your own, Caesar. There's, you know, there's blogs, there's books, there's articles, there's conferences, there's a network. You can go on LinkedIn and connect to so many groups related to project management. There are just so many ways you can quite easily learn more from other people, and that's probably the best way is to listen to those of us who have been around for a while, and you know, listen to us. You don't have to do exactly what we say because we're all learning as well, but you know, reach out to that community, local community meetings, project management chapters, etc. There's just a lot you could connect to, and in your own organization as well, there's almost certainly going to be some sort of project community that you could, again, go and talk to and maybe sit in on some meetings or anything really to get some more insight. One of the things I love doing these days is, whilst I continue to do the work in the area of project management development and PMO leadership, etc., I also get more and more involved these days to go into organizations to teach project management to non-project managers. And of course, it's a very reduced and simplified version of the courses that I do offer project managers, but it's wonderful to watch them sort of awakening to realize what project management is all about and what value it brings. So I think there's an awful lot that the listeners can definitely do.
Yeah, I agree, and that's the whole reason I'm doing this series is the you know, I know that there's so much that the non-project managers can benefit by learning even just a little bit of what project management can offer. I mean, it's changed my life, changed our little family business, and I see an opportunity out there to bring some of these concepts to everyone, and so yeah, I agree 100% with what you just said there.
Hey, Greg.
Now, Peter, if people want to learn more about you and what you do, where should they go?
Okay, they've got a couple of places they can go to. I mean, they can certainly connect to me on LinkedIn. I'll happily accept an invitation to connect on LinkedIn. But two websites, there's www.thelazyprojectmanager.com, thelazyprojectmanager.com. And they've also got my sort of main site, which is www.peterbtaylor.co.uk. That's peterbtaylor.co.uk. And that should be a great starting point to all the other stuff that I do.
Awesome. Peter, once again, thank you so much for participating. I appreciate and I value your input and your friendship. You're great.
It's been great. Thank you very much for inviting me back.
Don't forget to check out Caesar's new book, Project Management for You. Available now at projectmanagementforyou.com.
So there you go. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Peter Taylor. Peter is super fun. He's funny. He has a lot of knowledge when it comes to project management and leading teams and PMOs. And also, as the title of his book says, the Lazy Project Manager, he's really into being productive and doing, accomplishing more while doing less, working less. And it's a message that really resonates with me because I certainly have a lot on my plate. And the only reason why I can do that is because I try to live by the same principles. In fact, his book was really an influence on my work here with the podcast and in my career as well. So I recommend you go to his website, thelazypm.com, and find out more about Peter Taylor. Maybe get one of his books. Really recommend it. Now, if you enjoy what you're hearing here on this series and you'd like to learn more, maybe go deeper, get a step-by-step approach to using project management to start turning your ideas into reality and delivering on your promises and getting things done, head on over to projectmanagementforyou.com and consider backing this book project of mine. And if you are listening to this episode during the month of October 2014, now is the time to go to projectmanagementforyou.com and back this campaign. Because if I don't make the funding goal, then I don't get any of the funds. And I really appreciate you doing that. As I'm recording this, there's 71 people who have come out to back this project, which has pushed it over the 53% complete. So, and it's been only 8 days. So I really appreciate that. There's still a long way to go. So even though it's super awesome that it's so far ahead, so early in the game, there's still a lot to go. So I would really appreciate your support if you could. Now, if you're listening to this episode beyond November 1st, 2014, you can still go to projectmanagementforyou.com. And if this project was funded and it was successful, then you'll be able to purchase the book by visiting projectmanagementforyou.com. So that's what I had for you today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you again tomorrow. And until then, remember that life is a project and you are the manager. Ciao, ciao.
Thank you for listening.
Tune in next time for more inspiring interviews and key information to help you get things done.
Want to learn more? Go to projectmanagementforyou.com and order Caesar's book, Project Management for You.
Your path of turning ideas into reality starts now.